Welcome to another RPG Architect 2003 tutorial. I am your definitely from Russia host, Don Miguel. Let's get started. Alright, joking aside, I've been asked about creating a skill learning tree based on class and other things. So I decided I was going to go ahead and try to make a quick video, which will not be quick at all because it's a little involved, and kind of take you through how you would do that. So let's go ahead and get started. So the basic idea is that you may have a class. There you go, Bert. Maximized. High five again. And so say we have a class. All right, now I've got Barbarian, but let's go ahead and make another one. We'll call it Fire Wizard. And then we may have Ice Mage. And these are just for the sake of it right now. Let's not worry about anything. And say we want to have some skills that are associated. We'll say Fire 1, 2, 3, 2. Doesn't it suck when you have to use your own software and you're like, man, this is so slow? It's actually not that slow in use, it's just me having to deal with, it's technically debugging right now. Okay, so I have these sets of skills. Pretend that they're actual skills and they're all populated and they got all sorts of data in them. That's good. So let's say I want to create another. This is my test project, so there's a lot of stuff. Some more menus. So I'm going to go ahead and make Fire Mage class. Let's call Fire Mage skill tree. Okay. One more L. There we go. All right, and it's not an overlay. We want to be a menu. I think we're good for this. So let's go ahead and say that I want a list, and it's going to show the skills on it. So we'll call it skill list. All right, and we're going to add 3 items. And we're going to say Fire 1, Fire 2, Fire 3, and Fire 4. Okay. So we have these skills, and for giggles, let's go ahead and use an icon. I don't know if I actually have any here. Let's check. It does not look like I do, even though I really should. So, you know, we'll just let Bert edit this appropriately while I dilly-dally around here. Alright, and I'm going to look at my icons here. UI icons. Oh, these are awesome. Okay, and they're going to be 1 frame by 1 frame, and I believe they're 16, yeah, 16 by 16. And so my icon for Fire 1 is going to be, let's see, do we have a nice fire icon? Alright, so we've got this. Let's go ahead and create a margin universally for all of them, because that'll make this work much nicer. Text margin left. Scooched over. There we go. That looks great. Vertical alignment for the text should be middle. There we go. I'm happy with this. Now, we have our skills, but we want to potentially disable them. So this one is going to be disabled based on... Okay, so this only supports global, so that's fine. This is fine. We're going to say that switch... resize this. We'll make this 100. Again, this is my sample project, so it's going to be full of garbage. We'll say from 50 to 59. So we'll say UI learn skill 1. 2. 3. 4, 5. Okay. So you can make as many of these as you need. So if you have a skill tree that you can potentially learn maybe 20 skills from, you'll want to reserve that many in your globals, right? So Fire 1 is going to be tied to UI Learn Skill 1. Fire 2 is going to be tied to UI Learn Skill 2. Fire 3 is going to be tied to UI Learn Skill 3. This will be UI Learn Skill 4. Okay. Use a switch, and that controls whether or not it is visible. Whether or not it should be visible. So they should not be visible. There we go. Whoop. And whoop. There we go. Okay. So we've got these, and what we've said is that whether or not it's disabled is dependent on this. So if this is UI Learn Skill 1 is turned on, this is disabled. So let's go ahead and start by our script, and we're going to say that data management, we're going to change switches. Global range, yep, because we're using a range of them. I'm going to go 50. There we go, through 54. And again, you can change this to whatever you want. We're going to say that they're okay, that we're going to initialize them to being off. Okay. So we want to do this anytime the script is loaded. And then what we want to do is we're going to say that the variable that came in is going to be hero unique ID. That's going to give us the hero that we have. So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and we need to find out what class they are. No, we need to find out what skills they currently have. So save unique ID. We're going to find, not save unique ID. It's the end of the day, folks. All right, save value, excuse me. So we're going to save value from a hero with a unique ID to source, which we already talked about was hero unique ID. And we want to find out the skill count. And we're going to save that in, sure, we'll call it right here. We'll call skill count. And this can be anything you guys want. Now, we're going to go ahead and create a loop, control flow, a fixed loop. We're going to go from 0 to go to skill count, increment by 1, and we're actually going to go, we're going to modify our skill count to be -1 because otherwise it's going to try to go to the 5th skill that doesn't exist, so we don't want to do that. Skill count, subtract 1. Okay. So now what we're saying is we want to find all the skills that the character has. We don't want to go to the actual count. We want to go 1 under because everything starts at 0. So we're going from 0 to 4, not 1 to 5. If that makes sense here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create some conditionals in here. We're going to say condition. Actually, first we need to find out what the skill is at that state. Derp. So let's go ahead and do another save value. So we are going to, from the hero, with our hero unique ID, get their skill unique ID at index. Remember, we're getting the index from this guy right here. You know what? Let's actually use it. Let's do one more thing. We'll call skill loop variable. Okay. And let's go ahead and set that off. Change variable. Skill loop variable equal to 0. Okay. So basically it's going to use this variable. Let's go from here all the way to the end. Cool. So we're going through, we're going to skill unique ID at index specified by that skill loop variable. Isn't that awesome? Okay. So now we're getting the skill unique ID. Now we need to find out which skill it actually is. So we're going to do one more save value. Hero, specified by the hero unique ID. And we're going to find the skill unique ID at index. Did we already do this? We did do this. Forgive me. I Okay, so I skipped ahead. We're gonna put, let's go back to this one. So what we're trying to do is find the skill unique ID at an index. We're using that with the skill loop variable, and now we're gonna store that as the skill unique ID. And y'all, this could be locals, local variables if you want. You don't have to use globals. This is just how I'm doing it for the sake of this. So now what it's doing is finding the unique ID of a skill with everything we have here. So now we have that skill unique ID. So let's scroll down slowly because I'm debugging. Skill, we got a data source and we want to use it based on the skill unique ID. That's our unique ID. And we want to find the skill reference index, and we're going to store that in Skrillex index. I don't even think Skrillex is a thing anymore. Okay, so now we have the skill reference index. That means what it is in the database. So off the bat, what we were doing is finding the hero, and we were finding the skills count, and then we're going to loop through all the skills they have, and we're going to find the unique ID for a skill, and that lets us then use the save value again to look at a skills with that unique ID for the skill that we just found, and then look at the reference index. And the reference index is going to be what it's registered in here, right? So Fire 1's skill reference index is 10, Fire 2's is 11, 12, 13, and so forth, right? So now, what we're going to do is inside our loop, we want to test and see if that index for our global variable, it was Skrillex index, variables, Skrillex index, oh yeah, is equal to, what was it, I think 10? If it's 10, then that corresponds to Fire 1, right? So we want to change our variable, or not change our variable, change our switch. Change switch. We're going to change. Whoop, there we go. Scroll here. UI learn skill 1, because that was going to be tied, right, to whether or not it's disabled. We're going to turn that on. So that means disable Fire 1 because we already have it. Okay. And that's relatively simple, right? So now we are going to do another one. Now, if it's 11, that corresponds to Fire 2. Just go and update that. Now, one more time. Whoop. Paste. If it's 12, that corresponded to Fire 3. Right. One more one, just for the sake of making this complete. It's 13. That corresponds to Fire 4, right? So now that's initializing all of the variables for this, right? So Fire 1 is tied to UI skill 1, Fire 4 skill to UI learn skill 4, and again, if we look at this, 10 through 13 correspond to Fire 1 through 4. So now that has correctly set up our tree. So if you have a skill, it's not going to show up to learn anymore. But what happens if we want to learn the skill? Well, it's pretty easy. So we can go ahead and do skill, change skill. This is for Fire 1. We're going to say hero by unique ID. Huh, it's almost like we've done this before. The unique ID, we already have that. Skill, we want to add, right? By reference, we want to use Fire 1. Done. That's it. It's as simple as that. We may optionally, I strongly recommend this, would be to user interface, refresh the user interface element context. This causes it to redraw. So skill list. So if for whatever reason if for whatever reason your thing does not update, it forces it to update and redraw. So here we go for Fire 2. Now we're just going to update this right here. Fire 2. Optionally, you could also turn the switch for this one on, right? And then say it's disabled immediately after. Paste again. Guess what? This one is Fire 3. And so forth. fire 4. Okay, so now we effectively have our menu, but I need to link it in, right? So I'm going to take my main menu right now, and I'm going to kind of update it a little bit. You can see I've got some other silly stuff here. So I'll go to my menu items, and we'll go to abilities. This normally sets a switch or a variable that says what was selected, and then you tag the character here, and then that tells you where to go. So I'm just going to update it so that instead of opening the ability menu, right, I am going to instead open my menu of Fire Mage skill tree. Delete that. I don't care about storing that. I want to save this into global #1, the hero unique ID. So that's saving the unique ID of where I'm at, which will be my character. Okay, so now if I've done this correctly, when they come to ability, it's going to take them to my Fire Mage skill tree. It's going to teach them. I'm going to learn them a thing or two. So let's go ahead and start here. Find out how bad this crashes and burns. There we go. Abilities. Hiroshi. So we got that. Oh, I did not set a cursor. Okay. I'm having a hard time telling if it actually is teaching them anything. Abilities. Hiroshi. All right. Well, that would be how it should work. Resuming from another episode of Lock Fails Live, I'm going to show you a couple changes I made since the last one wasn't actually working at all. So a couple things. One, I actually positioned this over to the right a little bit more, so I changed the relative X so we could actually see our little cursor here. And I also went ahead, and this was actually the vital piece here, I had to choose to use the effect, right? So if the effect is not used, then we'll never see it be grayscale or do whatever it's going to do, right? So, in this case, it goes invisible when it's disabled. So we'll go ahead and say, like, we'll just go ahead and grayscale it. We want to be visible, and we want to be grayscaled. Okay. And finally, one other adjustment I made here is I also am now changing the switch that's related to the skill that's there. I'm turning that on so that we say, hey, after we've learned it, we're turning the switch on, which now means it's disabled. So now that I've made these changes, if I run it, again, we'll do it live because I'm doing it live. And I open up this menu, go to my abilities. One, you can see I can go through these guys now. Fire 1, I learned it now. Cool. Fire 2, learned. Fire 3, and Fire 4. So Fire 1 and 2 are still here, right? Because that did not behave the exact way I was planning. So let's go back in here. Looks like that may have actually been the opposite of what I expected. So Fire 1, let's go ahead and change it to the effect that it's not changing the visibility of it. I think that's what it wants. Try one more time. Abilities, Hiroshizilla. Okay, it's actually, okay. Well, for some reason, it's not grayscaling it. I'm not sure why. Something I clearly need to look into. But in any case, you can see that as soon as you learned it, if visible is not checked, then it actually just completely removes it, right? Grayscale, color mask is fine. You know what? Maybe we just need to change the color mask. Let's try this. Let's try one more thing, guys. I would not be shocked if it was something I slightly messed up on with grayscaling. There we go. We'll do that with just fire one and check it out, see if that works. Okay, now we'll do this. Run one more time. Well, it's probably hard to see it if it is. Anyways, you get the idea. I'll have to look and check out that bug. I've already confirmed on the back end of things in the code that the character does actually have the skills that they're supposed to learn. So that'd be an example of how you would build this out. Let's go ahead and change it one more time. Just, you know, for fun. Make sure this disabled effect stays visible. Grayscale, we'll turn that off, and we're just going to make it like half dark, maybe. Try that. For this guy, let's go ahead and set, we'll keep it full colored, but maybe like say roughly half of the alpha value, so, you know, half transparent. Play with that real quick. Well, can't say I didn't try. Here, it's actually giving me a, I don't think it's recording, but it's giving me a buzzer sound when I try to access it. So I'll need to look at these, the disabled effects, and kind of go from there. But hopefully that gives you an idea of how to run with it. And in one last blunder that was left out, and also as part of the entire, are you paying attention per lock? Definitely not that I made a mistake. There's one other thing we forgot to do in the loaded script, and that is that we need to increment this skill loop variable, right? So we always set it to 0 here, and then we go through and try to access it, right? So without doing that, what ends up happening is you just keep reading the first skill over and over again, which was a problem of mine. And in addition, I have also fixed the issue that we were seeing with whether or not these were grayscaling out. Turns out the change was actually made for templated lists, but not actual lists. So that was added very quickly, and all of a sudden it started working, which is amazing. So yes, that is part 3 of the, I have a lot of stuff to fix and stitch together, but I hope that was helpful. Good luck out there, architects. Bert, if you're leaving this open, I am going to destroy you. Not really.